Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast. If you are looking for a podcast about instructional strategies enhanced by technology, you came to the right place. In our conversations, we will talk with tech experts, share ideas and strategies to help you build your toolbox with tools that you can use in your class immediately.
Welcome to Innovation Squadcast. Today we are talking Schoology Organization. As the new school year begins, you may be wondering what is the best way to organize your Schoology. In this episode, we will discuss Schoology organizational structure tips with teachers around the district. Before we get started, let's pause for this week's tech tip.
Today's quick tip is adding Google Slides or Google Drawing to the top of your course to make it a little bit easier to have a one-stop shop and the clickable options for your kids. First, I'm going to go to Updates on the left-hand side, and you will get this box up here, and I'm going to click on Resources because this is something that's already created in my Google Drive. Once this window opens, Attach from Resources, I click on the Apps icon on the left, Google Drive. Then I will either search what I'm looking for, or if it's recently used, it should show up at the top. And I'm going to click on the one that I have here, Tech Class Bitmoji, and I'm going to click Import. The options are import a link, private link, or embed. I'm going to import embed so that way the entire thing will show up at the top of my screen. I can see it in the window, and before I actually post it, there is an icon to the left of post. Looks like a little speech bubble. I'm going to click that, and I am going to check the box that has the bell in it. If you check the box with the person in it as well, that means parents will be able to see the update at the top of your class as well. Then I click Post. Now I see my embedded Google Drawing or Google Slides at the top of my Schoology page in Updates, but then if I click on Materials, I will also see the same clickable options. When I no longer want this to be at the top, all I have to do is click Remove, and it will remove it from the top of the Materials section, but it will stay in Updates.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed that tech tip, and I really appreciate everybody listening and watching, and really appreciate you being here. And we've got special guests today. I am Jimmy Kate.
And I'm Pam Hubler.
I'll let our special guests introduce themselves. Tim, go ahead and start.
Hi, I'm Tim Capazzi. I'm a fourth grade math teacher at Howell Ames.
Hi, I'm Ashley Wilson. I am a 9th through 12th grade teacher at Cane Bay High School.
Fantastic. I really appreciate you being able to join us today. And, we wanted to bring you guys in because, we know that you were using Schoology, had a lot of success in organizing it. And we've got the different kind of elementary and secondary perspectives that you guys will be able to bring to what we're talking about. So if you could just kind of start us off, and we'll start elementary first and go secondary second, is kind of talk about some of your organizational structure and how you organize your class to help your kids navigate it pretty well.
Absolutely. I think the thing that was most successful for us was the fact that we have a lot of tech-savvy students here at the school already who were adept at using Google Drive and Google Classroom already. And since Schoology is really kind of both of those put into one, they were able to really get into it easily and find their way through it. So it was really effective for us, at least in our grade level, and I know in the other grade levels that use it, was the folder system, creating a different folder for every unit. Like for my math class, there was a folder for Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, and it was a great reference point for them. It's like, oh, wait, I don't remember this. Oh, wait, I remember we did that in Unit 1. And they could go back and look at the videos that we had. They could look at some of the assignments that we had. They could look at anything that I posted for reference materials. So it really gave them sort of a one-stop shop for anything that they needed to reference back to, especially when it came to later in the year with testing. We referenced back to Schoology all the time. It was like, oh, you don't remember out of that? Mm-hmm. Well, that was in Unit 2. Go look up in your Schoology and look at your notes for that and see what we had for there. And that it got them into that rhythm of going to look for it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I guess that's always been part of it, but I've never had the viewpoint of, sending students back and looking at that other materials. And that's a powerful thing.
It is. And I love that you mentioned the folders and being the one-stop shop, because that was one thing when we did use Google Classroom, the topics you can only do so much with. And now having folders, you can really organize well, just like you do with your Google Drive.
Sure. And Ashley, in the secondary level, what kind of structure did you go with?
We went with something very similar. I know that our principal at the time had us set up our original folders. So like we had course content stuff, but then we had school content and things like that. And so every teacher had the same set of like 4 folders to go through. And so all the kids in the school knew what folder they were going to in order to get to where they needed to be. And then once in my course assignment stuff, I'd set mine up by units and I titled those units. But one of the things that I think I did a little bit differently, especially with the high schoolers and the secondary ed, is that I put dates with mine because a lot of our students are on like an A-day, B-day schedule.
Gotcha, yeah.
Instead of every day. So we added dates. And then I also had subfolders for substitute assignments as well.
Nice.
So they could really access per day. And if they were absent, they could just pick out the day they were absent in each unit. And that made it very easy for them to be able to go back and do the assignments they had missed.
Very nice. Yeah.
The sub, that is super
Yeah.
powerful because
Yeah.
that was one thing that we had complaints about with logging into Google accounts. If somebody's not there, you can't get to it. So they're not sharing their passwords.
Yep.
So having an option for sub information, even for the sub themselves, that's a great way to organize it.
Yeah, and I like the idea of a school kind of creating at least a common version, because especially as parents are getting on board and we're trying to, they're going to have to be taught how to navigate through it. Having something similar for each course, I think, is really nice. And then we've definitely seen, I think, across most of our teachers do like units or kind of big topics. I would say that, have you seen any teachers in there use like the chronological by weeks and had any success with that in your schools? That's the other one we see the most of.
I mostly saw the units. It was just easier for everybody to follow, especially with the elementary school kids. Like, it's easier to say unit 2 or unit 3 than to say go back to January, because that for them isn't as big a deal.
Right. For secondary, I think chronological does have some successes. Ashley.
Yeah, I was going to say we did units, but then I do know of teachers who within that unit did by weeks.
Right. And it's okay to do by chronological. We've seen that be pretty successful week 1. And then sometimes inside of that week, they may have the units broken up inside of there as well. So just really, and I think that's what's one of the nice things about Schoology is that it's very customizable to your view, and you can really create it how you feel best fits for you, fits your kids, fits your parents, fits everybody. So
yeah. And one of the trainings we did today, we were talking to one of the teachers how they wanted to kind of make a sandbox course that just had the folder structure, so that way they could push out that to the classes, even if it doesn't have content. It's just more like the content as far as, okay, the topic, the week, the units, the dates. So it kind of gives you a little bit more without having to worry about if the content is the same or having to plan out the whole year for the content.
Sure. And so let's kind of go to, talking to teachers. Tim, what would be some things that you tried that didn't work, or what you would maybe give some advice to teachers that are getting ready to structure, and what could they avoid, some things you had to go through, struggle through that, save them from that?
My biggest issue was probably getting things to copy from course to course, because we have 3 different switches that come through for math, and going through and making sure, especially when it was a Google assignment that was added to it, making sure that Google assignment was added to all the different switches. So that was something where it was a real trial and error thing where, you'd have it there for one switch and the next kids would come in. And of course they're wonderfully, cheery about telling you that you haven't done your job.
Right.
It's not there. So, and then you get okay, everybody calm down. Now you get to see how the chocolate factory works.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, learning the different tips and tricks of how to make sure that even if you put it in one, when you copy it to another course, that you make sure that you reassign those things again. And it was that sort of trial and error part to it. But once I got in the flow of that, it was a lot easier. And, my brain would go, hey, don't forget to copy that course.
Yeah.
Or copy that assignment. So, and then it made it a lot easier.
Yeah. And what he's referenced to is the format options. If you make a copy of a Google assignment or annotations assignment, that's the only thing that doesn't copy with it to another course. And so you just have to head in that course and just attach that one file to it.
Yeah, because they all use the back end of what they even use in Google Classroom, where it automatically makes that copy. But until you actually tell it to make that copy, it's not going to.
Sure.
So it seems like a pain, but like you said, once you get used to the flow of it, it's not horrible.
Sure. And Ashley, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just saying, once you, like she said, once you get used to it and you do it a few times and you go, wait a minute, don't forget to do that. It's not hard at all.
Exactly. Ashley, anything you could advice to give to avoid or things that you have to struggle through that might help some teachers out?
It's so, without repeating exactly what he said, that was probably one of my biggest
Sure.
like structural things. But also, I can remember going through and like, if I gave something, I took away an assignment from a student, you have to remember that on the flip side too, that you may not have taken it away from both of the classes that you assigned it to. So that gets some getting used to. But I can also say, before I started putting in the dates, like what day we did stuff on, there are times where I could not I didn't know where that assignment was. I couldn't find it. So I started adding more and more dates because I realized that in the structural thing, when you're trying to look for a specific assignment, not having those linked to dates or something other, some other type of topic or something, it was very hard to find. For kids who were making up work if they had been out for several days, or if I'm going back and I got behind and I had to figure out what I had graded and what I had not graded, especially if it's not a self-graded assignment. So we all love self-graded assignments.
Yeah, sure.
And so those are super easy to get in there, but then you have the ones that you have graded and you're like, oh, wait, there's no grade in here for this. Where is this assignment in the units? Because it doesn't look the same when it's on the grade book.
Right.
When it's like when you're actually in the units. So I had to go back and find where I was, and it took a little bit. So I encourage something to indicate where you are, instead of like within the unit, what days
Right.
you are within the unit.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yep. Tim, anything to add to that, or does that sound?
I think Ash is completely right. The more information you input into the system, the easier everything is to find. It's easy to say, oh, I don't need that field. I don't need that field, because you're trying to get everything in and get it done. But the more information you put in Schoology, it's not only easier for the students to find, it's easier for the teachers to find. So, it take the extra time and take those extra steps to put in everything that you have, just like it was a regular assignment in a written grade book, and it'll make your life a lot easier in the back end.
Yeah, because you can add, elements in the description window of the folders. You can put descriptions inside of the assignments themselves and in the titles. So that definitely helps. Think about it. I think definitely one of the things we talk about is really being purposeful with your naming when it comes to assignments, to make sure that they're showing up in the grade book how you want, they're easy to find how you want, and the kids can find them as well. So.
Yeah, and I do love, and from a parent perspective, since I do have students in the district, the more teachers started using it, I loved it, because Power School will give you a grade, but it really doesn't give you a lot of information. So if I have a student that doesn't really understand something, as a parent, I can go in and check my kids, generally check their work, see what they're doing, see what they're working on, even if it is just what the topic is, then I can help them out. So it is nice for the parents as well, not just the transparency for the students and the teachers, but it's great for the parents as well.
Sure. Yep. So I really appreciate you guys. Was there anything else that I maybe didn't ask, or that you think that teachers need to hear when it comes to organizational structure? That
or a favorite, maybe a favorite feature,
favorite feature, or something that they'd like.
I would just say, don't be intimidated by the fact that the screen looks different than what we're used to. We got so used to Google because we had to with everything that happened.
Right.
And then it was like, oh, well, we're doing away with that. Here's Schoology. And everyone was like, oh, I can't handle anything new right now. There's the tendency to sort of discount it because it's new, but it has a lot of really great features. Like you guys had said, the ability for parents to actually go in, and you don't have to be like, well, what are they working on? They can go in on their own time and look what they're working at, and have that extra level of support at home. So that way you don't have to worry about, the emails of what are they working on? What are they doing? How are they doing? It's like, oh, you want to know? Here it is. Check it out. So don't be intimidated by all the bells and whistles. Start small, build it up, and your confidence will come the more you do it. And don't be afraid to make some mistakes, because that's what we learn from.
Absolutely. Great advice, Ashley.
He actually said it at the very end. I was just going to say, in my head, if the more you use it, so many people are scared of it, or they don't like it because they're used to something else. But once I dived right in and just started using it and immersed myself in it, it was way easier to understand than I ever thought possible. And I love the actual organization of it that you get over being in Google Classroom, because like Google Classroom, yeah, it's easy, but there was less organization in it. And so the organization component is actually my favorite part of the program.
Me too.
Sorry about the printer.
Yeah, and we just
That's all right.
started. There's so much in it,
Yeah.
like all those assessment tools, and there's so
Yeah,
much.
the assessment tools. Yeah, we're gonna eventually do one kind of beyond the basics as well,
Mhm.
where we started getting other stuff, and we'll be pushing out all kinds of different PD throughout the year. So those of you listening, feel free to check out those PD calendars, check out our other show notes as well. For our show notes, you can find those in our description window. You can find it in the email we send out. You can find it on our Schoology page, so they're everywhere. Or just reach out to our ILC, and we'll be happy to
Yes.
send you the show notes. If you like the tech tip, you can head to the YouTube channel, and we've got a tech tip section as well. Or just in the show notes, we'll have the video ready to go as well. If you're listening, again, you go to the YouTube channel and you can find certain parts. And then don't forget about the Squadcast PD as well. For every 2 episodes that you listen to of the podcast, you can fill out a Google form that will give you an hour of credit. So, and that link is found inside the show notes as well. So I really appreciate you guys being here and taking your time out and helping out teachers of the district. I think they're going to really benefit from the knowledge that you guys gave them today from that inside perspective. So really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.